Hey folks, it's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Today is Monday. Hope you're well, December 16th. Hope you had a great weekend as well. In this video, we're going to be discussing, did you know that Tesla lost about $1.94 billion with a B before it actually returned a profit? So I think it was 2013, they turned a profit in a 3-month period, so on a quarterly basis. And then in 2020, they had a full year of profitability on their annual filings. But before that, before they actually turned a profit, they actually had the biggest loss in history. And like I said, cumulatively, in just about 5 years or so, the company lost almost $2 billion. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people, they don't look at these companies early on. They only hear about it whenever prices exploded. I was shouting from the rooftops in like 2017, 2018 that Tesla is going to be an absolute juggernaut. And everybody was saying, oh, look at mainstream media. They're not profitable. They're burning through cash. They're never going to be able to be profitable. They're saying stay away. And they make less cars in a year than Toyota makes in a month. And now Tesla's worth more than every other automaker combined, right? It's because they didn't understand the technology. They didn't understand where the industry was going. They didn't understand the growth curve and the trajectory. And a lot of these people that question these companies and their losses and things like that, they're value investors, right? They're just looking at numbers, sheer numbers, and they say numbers don't lie. But yes, they can. If you're in an industry that's burgeoning, an emerging market that's only 2% growth achieved, right? And there's still 98% growth like the MJ industry or crypto, right? There's still not even like full legislation and laws and rules of the road yet for crypto and MJ stocks, right? And the MJ industry. So there's so much growth ahead, right? Even after the biggest economy in the world, the US legalizes, there's going to be another 5 to 10 years of, before we hit critical mass, in MJ, right? And same thing with crypto. So like people don't understand that you can't just look at a company. Like if it's one thing, if you're valuing, a food chain business, okay, by all means, look at the numbers. But if you're looking at a company and trying to dissect the numbers now, most often than not, companies that are like trying to change the world, right? That are making a dent in the universe, they're going to probably lose a lot of money, especially like with regards to car, if it's a car or if it's an MJ, if it's the MJ industry, you have to put a lot of upfront capital, right? There's huge CapEx requirements, right? You have to build a facility, you have to grow it, you have to, cultivate it, you have to trim it, you have to package it, you have to market it. There's so much that has to go around. You have to get a fence around the perimeter and a Health Canada license, which can be, or like a license in the US, which can be millions of dollars, right? So people don't understand that there's a very high upfront cost and it takes a long time before you even see $1 of revenue. And the same thing with the automobile industry, right? Anyways, I'll go into this more in just a moment. I'm kind of digressing here a little bit. Before we get to it, make sure to smash like, all that good stuff, and notification bell. If you have that enabled, you'll be notified on any future content or when I go live. Also, shout out to Elon. You can follow us over on his platform, X, and the handle for that is @GroupPow. And if you recall, I'm not saying value investing isn't valuable. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying that it's not the only solution, right? It's not the only game in town. And look at the biggest investor, most popular investor in the world and value investor, that would be Mr. Buffett himself. He admitted he was too dumb and an idiot for not investing in Amazon early on, but finally took the plunge 5 years ago, right? So he was humbled. He was, he was honest about it, and he was truthful, right? He said, I was too dumb and an idiot, right? Because he was looking at the numbers in the early days, right? Amazon stock dropped 95% after the 2000 stock boom, right? And the tech boom in the dot-com era. So, a company, Amazon, dropped 95%. And, these amazing investors and value investors like Warren Buffett just can't understand it. Why? Because all he understands is balance sheets and how to look at numbers, but he didn't understand that when he was looking at Amazon initially, it wasn't even scratching the surface of where the company was going. He didn't have he was too short-sighted, right? He didn't have the wherewithal. He didn't have the ability to see into the future. And that's what that's what I'm good at, is finding these unicorns, finding these companies that are just not ordinary companies. I'm talking about companies that are going to change the world, right? Another company that I think is going to change the world, which I think could go on to be bigger than Amazon and any other company on the planet, is Ripple. And that has to do with blockchain technology and infrastructure for the new plumbing of the financial system, right? The Internet of Value. What is more valuable than the internet of information, the internet of money and value, right? And that's what they're doing. So I think they're going to be huge. They could IPO at some point in 2025. You have to be accredited to buy their stock. I think their stock's around $40 I think it was at like $119 at the moment. So that's a company that I think is going to be massive. But, just because, more, and he also missed on Apple. He also missed on Bitcoin and crypto, right? So at the end of the day, people, it doesn't matter how successful you are, people get it wrong sometimes. And value investing is not the only game in town. And case in point, I don't know how many times I told people buy Tesla in 2017, obviously not financial advice. And, nobody wanted to buy it. But then in 2021, after everything exploded, Tesla was, obviously it was a no-brainer, right? Because they turned a profit. So, and then, I was kind of going, and I've gone back with people on X about this. I don't know how many times, people on Facebook, people on here on YouTube, across all platforms. People are saying, look at Tilray, look at the MJ sector. They're losing so much money. But again, you can't just look at the numbers. Okay, why are they losing money? Might it be that you're in an industry, in a sector that takes a ton of capital before you even see $1 of revenue, right? And it can take years before you even get that $1 of revenue, but hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, to get the facilities built and everything, right? So you have to understand what you're dealing with here. And then you have to factor in, okay, well, where is, MJ in the global scale of things? Where is it like in the growth curve, right? And you would know that we're not even through the first inning yet. We're like halfway through the first inning, right? Once the US legalizes at the federal level, then it'll be another 5 to 10 years after that before we hit critical mass and full growth, right? And even then, there'll still be growth to be had after that, right? So there's so much growth, it's not even funny. You can't just factor that in alone. It's asinine. It's actually, I question anybody's ability to even succeed in the financial markets if they don't understand this very basic concept. Look at what I found here, and I mentioned on X. So I said a lot of people missed out on Tesla, and I said, ouch, because that sucks, because, it was clear as day to me that Tesla was going to be a massively valuable company. Like, they're not just into cars either, right? They're into a lot more than that. All these different types of roofing systems, and there's so much, right? Autonomous vehicles. So Tesla's financial losses from 2003, when it was founded, to 2013, based on the available information. And in 2013, 10 years after the company was founded, they finally turned a 3-month profit. Okay. And in 2020, they finally had a full year of profit on their annual filing. But look at their losses, how they mounted from 2003, 2006. The exact figures were not specified, but just from 2007 to 2013, 80 million loss, 80 million loss, 55.74 million loss, 154 million loss, 254 million loss, 2012, $396 million loss, 2013, $74 million loss. Isn't that interesting? They had the biggest loss in history on the books right before 2013 when they turned their first profit. All right. And then after that, massive losses came with massive profits, right? Because these companies, and they almost went bankrupt. Tesla almost went bankrupt. And everybody's like, oh, well, don't compare Tesla to the MJ industry or whatever. Don't compare it to whatever industry. I would say, yes, compare it to any industry and see what it was like whenever the industry was up and coming, when it was burgeoning, when it was growing, right? How much was that sector growing, and how much growth had it actually realized? And the answer would be not a whole lot. And here's the deal. Tesla almost went bankrupt. Tesla lost, $200 to $300, $400 million in a year. Okay. And they weren't selling Schedule I illegal drugs in the US. So it's even worse, right? It's even worse that Tesla almost went bankrupt and they're not selling a product that's federally illegal. So we have to cut these MJ companies some slack. But look at Tilray, okay? It lost in 2024, 244 million. In May 31st, 1.45 billion. But again, you have to look at it for what it is and say that, okay, these companies are Tilray's in 30 countries or something like that. They're growing rapidly. They have facilities all over the world, and it's still federally illegal in the US, right? So, and you can't even do traditional advertising in Canada. So there's so much growth to be had. It's not even funny. We're so much we're in the first inning, right? There's so much growth to be had. And like I said, just because a company, the point of the story is just because a company is losing money doesn't mean it isn't a good long-term investment, right? It's often the companies who are changing the world that are going to put a dent in the universe that they almost go bankrupt and they lose a ton of money right before parabolic growth, right? And it's the people that see the industry. That's the people who put in thousands and thousands of hours of research into these companies and do their due diligence, right? Not just looking at a few financial numbers, etc., on the balance sheet or whatever it is with regards to profitability metrics, right? It's having the foresight into the future and understanding where the world is going, right? Before the masses realize it. And quite often than not, it's during these times of losses in the early days where you want to get in, right? Before, when the valuation is super low, right? And it usually takes, like I said, Tesla was founded in 2003 and it didn't turn its first profit until 2013. So 10 years later on a 3-month period on a quarterly basis. And then in 2020, it had a full year of profitability on the annual filing. So it took from 2003 to 2020, right? Almost 20 years, almost 2 decades, right? So you have to remember that companies that are going to change the world, like your Amazons, your Teslas, your Apples of the world, right? It usually takes 10 to 20 years before parabolic growth is achieved. And look at a name like Tilray. Tilray has only been around since, publicly 2018, right? So we're so early to the game. It's not even funny. And like I said, it's not that value investing doesn't work. It's just not the only way to approach financial markets. And more often than not, all of these unicorns and like once in a lifetime opportunities, they only come with high risk, right? And a lot of the value investors miss it. But, Warren Buffett isn't hurting, right? He's sitting on billions and billions of dollars, one of the richest people in the world. But, that's because he's putting billions of dollars into investing into stocks, right? And, if he gets 10, 20%, he makes a few $1 billion. But most people don't have billions of dollars to invest or hundreds of millions. And, if you're going to be looking at the same stocks he's looking at, you're probably not going to be able to invest with your $1,000 or your $10,000 that, every average Joe and Jane would have disposable income to put at the markets. What you want to do is find these companies that are putting, if you only got $1,000, $10,000, or even $100,000, you want to find companies that are going to put a dent in the universe. That's what I'm after, right? That's why I like crypto. That's why I like MJ, right? Yes, they're huge, high risk, high reward sectors, but you can cut down, what would take you in the traditional stock market to do in 20 years, you could do in 2 years or even 4 years, right? If you just, put your head down and lock in and go to work and do your research, you could be financially free in the next, 2 to 4 years potentially, just from these sectors, because with crazy volatility to the downside means crazy volatility to the upside, right? So hopefully this video was helpful. I talk to people about this all the time, and a lot of people didn't know this about Tesla. And, even Apple almost went bankrupt in 1997 if it wasn't for Microsoft giving them a $150 investment or $150 million investment, right? So this happened to Apple. And then Apple just, it might even be worth more than Microsoft today, right? On any given day, every other day, one's passing each other in terms of valuable, who's more valuable, right? So again, it's not just because a company is losing money doesn't mean that it isn't going to make it long term. And, just because a stock price is low doesn't mean that the company is bad. Case in point, Amazon dropped 95% after the tech boom, and we all know the rest, right? So again, just because a company's stock price is low or they're losing money doesn't mean that it's not investable, right? It's usually the opposite. And like I said, Tesla had its biggest loss ever right before it turned its first ever profit in company history. If this video was helpful, I would appreciate a like, share it with your network if anybody that might find value in it. And going to end it there, it's Rod with Powell Group. Thanks again for joining us in the Pursuit of Wealth. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section below, and we'll continue the conversation there. All right, have a great day, and we'll catch you in the next one.